Hi, I'm Bas Fibonacci. I'm a local painter and muralist. I'm in Pioneer Square. I'm going to show you around some of the public art and street art around Pioneer Square. Behind me are some examples of ghost signage, which is signage from the early 1900s, I'm guessing. And they just left them up. There's a bunch of them around Pioneer Square. So, I don't know, that's a cool thing. It's not necessarily art, but it's like an example of sign painting, which is a kind of a lost craft that's slowly being reconstituted. So this alley is a good example of Pioneer Square trying to revitalize, and the alleys used to be pretty seedy down here, so they're trying to make them like more walkable. They hired artists of the crew New Mystics, which I'm a part of, to do like this kind of like mobile sculptures. And so going down the alley, there's a few different ones. They're kind of like in disrepair right now, but and also the ground is like redone by just like local artists to make this cool pattern. So this is another part of the alley art that New Mystics did, and all these pieces are made of like used bike parts. And this is Back Alley Bikes. They're the ones that kind of like commissioned it. It's a cool little bike shop. Behind me is a building that's been abandoned for as long as I can remember, at least since 2000. It's in disrepair. Now the roof's caved in, and it's become a mural spot for kind of a lot of like friends that have died. So the woman to the right, that's Sachi. She died last year of cancer, and No Touching Ground did a mural of painting of her. And to the left is Ian Mant. He died of a drug overdose a couple years ago, and No Touching Ground also did that piece. And there's like unsanctioned art all around it. It's like people do it without permission, but no one cares, and no one's really cared since maybe 2010. Weirdo and Joey Nix started painting the building kind of without permission. They like set up cones and caution tape so it looked legit, but they didn't really have permission. Then got permission from the Pioneer Square Alliance after the fact. And yeah, eventually this building will be torn down, but I guess the structure's just all screwed up, so there'll be a bit, because I don't know if you know this, all the buildings in Pioneer Square are protected, because back in the day they took down the Seattle Hotel where this parking lot is now, and Pioneer Square was like, we can't be losing all this historical buildings, so it's really hard to like take down a building and put up a new mixed-use condo like the rest of Seattle does. So that's a great thing about Pioneer Square. There's another piece behind me that I did. It's also of Sachi, our friend that died of cancer last year. So this is another wall. It's kind of an all unsanctioned art. They just did this Black Lives Matter mural within the past couple weeks. This is another piece by No Touching Ground. This is a pine cone. He did a couple ones. There was one that was like a leaf over there that's gone by now. These were done in the fall of like 2017 maybe. And it's really rare to see street art that lasts this long. So it's a nice piece. So this mural right here is done by Casey Weldon. He's a local artist. And the Pioneer Square Alliance has been hiring different artists to paint all the boarded up businesses and paying them all like, I think $1,000. So, and this behind this is Bon Voyage Vintage, like Pioneer Square's local vintage shop. It's a great place. Go to it if you come to Pioneer Square. So this piece behind me is a portrait of Charlena Lyles. She was a woman that was murdered by the Seattle police a couple years ago, and it's done by No Touching Ground. And this is an example kind of pre this current era of the Black Lives Matter movement, where people are using art to like amplify the voice of people that have been, dealt with police brutality or been murdered by the police. Yeah, it's a great piece. Portrait's been here now for a couple years. So now we're in Pioneer Square. This is the namesake of the neighborhood, Pioneer Square. There's multiple pieces of like art that's a little bit older, like public art. These two pieces, they're two-sided. On one side it's in English, and on the back side it's in the native language. And it's a quote from Chief Seattle, Chief Sealth. Now the streets are our home, and that relates to like how the natives were pushed out of the city back in the day. And yeah, it's like a very poignant piece, I think. And as the money and the crosses, it's just like, I don't even know, like I haven't deciphered the symbolism, but it's a beautiful piece. So this is a mural by Billy King. He's a iconic local muralist. This one's from 2002, so it's close to 20 years old. And he has a bunch of, a few murals up at Pike Place as well. I don't know, I love it. It's like a great place, great mural. So this is another one of the old alleyways. This is kind of what all the alleyways in Pioneer Square and all of Seattle used to be like. A little bit more run down, the ground's all uneven, and all this is unsanctioned. Like that piece used to be of No Touching Ground by this guy Over and Under. That whale was done by this probably like 65-year-old guy with a head injury, and he's painted these whales like all under the viaducts, all like around the city, or all around Pioneer Square a few years ago. I don't know who did those, but they're cool. Tupac, Seagull. Yeah. So this is a mural I did for the Pioneer Square Alliance, where they're having different artists paint on all the boards. This piece is called Springtime in Seattle in the Time of COVID. So there's people social distancing, drinking coffee. There's like spring bunnies, which there's a lot of around here. And then there's people hugging post-COVID. And then Chief Seattle with the mask. That's that same statue that we saw earlier. That was for years too.